I don't think a child's job is to make a parent proud. Parent-child relationship is the most effective and important mental health intervention known to mankind. Those parents are in their child state. They want to be friends with them. But the minute the friend surpasses them or starts being more successful than them,
Right.
then in the friend relationship, there's that jealousy in a weird way.
What is a grandparent's job?
Whatever you're able to give to your child in this healthy way is setting his marriage up. There's nothing more scary to a child than losing their attachment.
Is there a time that when a parent can yell? Okay, we are privileged to have here today a therapist, a parenting expert. His name is Yehoshua Sachs. We will discuss fundamental elements of human experience. And I know that you use a lot the word attachment, and we will dive into this. We're going to try to figure out what attachment is. Yehoshua helps parents create long-lasting relationships, meaningful relationships, tries to help parents create a safe space for their children. Welcome to the struggle.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Okay, so before we're going to get into attachment and all these, important things, I just want to discuss with you, I just want to become aware and help people become aware how important parenting is. Parenting is the foundation of everything. You talk to professionals, you talk to people all over, they will tell you that everything is rooted in childhood, right? The first people the child encounters when they come into the world is the parents. And the first 20 years is the crucial years. And then you have the rest of your life to unwire or to deal, whatever the case is, what was going on. So the achrayas and the avoidance of having, creating healthy children is parenting. And I don't think people take it so serious. Young people, everybody wants to have a family and everybody wants to have children, and it's all beautiful and it comes with all the bells and whistles. But the emotional part is so crucial, because that's what the therapists say today. They talk to every adult who's in the middle of parenting his own children, is all about their childhood. And while they're raising their children, they're in the middle of reparenting themselves. It is an unbelievable topic and a crucial one, because we also see today teenagers, and there's a lot of talk about ODTs and this problems and that problems and rifts in families. And what you're coming here, your message is, let's start from the bottom. Let's start from the foundation. Let's start from the beginning, and let's figure out how the achrayas that a parent has, and let's do this the right way. We want to talk about attachment, and it's an interesting word, and we want to know if you can explain a little bit if attachment is a positive word. Is it a negative word? Is it a scary word? Because attachment sometimes is, they use it for you're attached to another human being, which is toxic, which is codependency. Explain, what is attachment?
Okay. First of all, thank you so much for having me on. So first, to your first point of just how important
Correct.
The parent relationship is. Bessel van der Kolk, who wrote The Body Keeps a Score, he's quite recognized. He said something very profound, which I think talked to exactly what you said. He said, the parent-child relationship is the most effective and important mental health intervention known to mankind.
Wow.
So there's everything out there. And I think everything out there comes from a desperation where, oh no, we have to get help for this, or oh no, there has to be help for this. And that's where the energy is. And that's where the movement happens to go to somewhere. But I think that hopefully inspiration, beside not just desperation, but also inspiration, can help almost like nip it in the bud. If this is true that it is the most effective mental health intervention, that's powerful. There's a lot of mental health interventions. Many of them are amazing. But like you said, a lot of them are really coming to undo what could have happened.
Correct.
And so sometimes it goes like a child seems like they're doing okay, or parents are not up for a child's temperament, that they're born into a world with a certain temperament. And being in tune to that can really help down the line, like just saving families, money, time, and effort. But then to the point of what attachment is. So attachment it's an interesting word. You're right.
Yeah.
Basically, it's very simple. It's basically the relationship the child had with their parents. What type of relationship that was. So it's really, they break it down into 4 parts, different types of attachment models, which is what you were saying. Sometimes there could be a codependency type of attachment. And there's different levels. There's anxious attachment, a type of attachment. Then there's the ambivalent attachment. And then there's the avoidant. And then there's disorganized, which is something one of the symptoms will be what you're saying, where there's that codependency.
Right.
But if we're talking attachment, really
Healthy attachment.
Exactly. Healthy attachment. And that's what I'm saying. That's what would be the drive to it. And everyone talks about it. I'm going to say everyone talks about attachment, love, of being connected. Let's see if we can figure out how to do that. Some tips, or even some like shifts in our focus and like what we assume to be true, maybe shifting that a little bit so that our child will feel connected. Because sometimes our idea of attachment and our idea of connection is not really what this child needs.
Right.
So so that's what it is. I think the thing that we're striving for is, in the clinical world, it's called secure attachment.
Mm-hmm.
And secure attachment is something that a child feels secure and safe and seen and loved by a caregiver. And what happens is that gives almost like the motor, or it sort of organizes the child in a way that now they can go out and explore the world. Because guess what? Even if something happens that he didn't succeed, or he got hurt by somebody, he always has a place to come back to that secure place.
Right. Now, you're talking about both parents' attachment, right? This is not only one parent.
I'm talking about both, but one can do it too.
Right,
So,
because what happens is that sometimes one has a different personality than the other, and here the child is a total different personality, and now we're trying to make attachments.
That's right.
So,
that's right.
So what you're saying is that even if one has a healthy one, it is going to help for this child to be safe and secure.
Absolutely. Sometimes I think what you're alluding to is one parent might have this disorganized piece where they're a little scary sometimes, loving another time, but then you have that other stable parent.
Mm-hmm.
That's definitely an anchor, definitely something helpful for
Right.
the child. If there's like the negative pulling back, it can fill in the pieces, but I'm going to say even a child that knows it can come to their primary caregiver, which normally is the mother, but really anyone can do it.
Yeah, and that will help the child. Now, let me ask you a question. What if the parent did not have a healthy attachment to their parents? So here we're talking to young people or middle-aged people who still have young kids in the house, and they see that the kids are like, acting up, and the relationship is not where it's supposed to be. Or there was attachment issues to their parents, especially, Holocaust survivors, or, even another generation away from the Holocaust survivor. This is not so simple to unwire. So you see yourself in a place where there's, I don't know how many kids, and the population is growing, but the parents had no attachment.
It's a great question. I think that's where the education has to happen. I think that's where even the acknowledgement.
just the fact that you acknowledge that you didn't have that attachment
That's right.
and the willingness that you want
That's right.
will soothe the child.
That will set you in a place that you'll do better for your child.
Wow.
I'll ask you a question. Take a scenario where you have a young adult, 30 years old, raising a family, 40 years old, and their parents, it was a hard childhood. And they're listening to this now. What do you think their childhood would have been like if their parents sat down and watched something that shifted? Oh wow, really? There's development of a child? Really, a child's not just a piece of furniture?
Right.
Really, we can help a child develop. We can actually help wire his brain. Whoa. Even if that's all that they got, don't you think that you as that 4-year-old would have had a bit of a different childhood?
Absolutely.
Or less of a scary one, or more of an understanding one? Mm-hmm. So it's really just the knowledge, and then reading about it, experiencing it. I'm going to say even trying to experiment little things and seeing if it works. Those type of things, absolutely. That's a huge shift. And not only are you changing something, here's what I feel so strongly, why it's so strong, to your point, like exactly like you're saying. You're talking about a parent raising a child now, but guess what? His parents that raised him a certain way were raised by their parents, who were raised by their parents. Correct. Just this acknowledgement and the ability to shift a little bit is literally changing your future grandchildren's lives.
Right.
So, and your children's marriages, because that's an attachment also. So their first attachment's gonna sort of follow into the next relationship of marriage. There's so much that you're doing in just that. Right. You literally stop. They said during COVID, one person moves away and then it stops the whole thing. So that's literally what you're doing. You're like moving the flame a little bit away so it can't catch on to the next thing. Wow.
That's amazing stuff.
Yeah.
The awareness is such a powerful thing. Forget about doing. Doing's coming after. But first have introspect.
Absolutely.
And see where you're going.
Absolutely.
Tremendous.
It's so much of the work is the parents' work, and that's what's hard. We call it child rearing, I guess, but everyone calls it parenting. You're a parent. It's an interesting word also. Yeah. Like you said, you're parenting yourself. Like you're learning how to, you're becoming, it's on you. It's on the parent. The verb of the parenting is really on the parent. Right. To be able to grow on their own end, be able to become more empathetic.
You're learning on the job.
Literally learning on the job. If you're willing to learn on it, you grow so much, and you change as a person. Your relationships change in your marriage. Your relationships change in business. Because you've got sort of a broad idea of what can really help a tantrum, what can really calm someone down. Right.
So what you were describing is attachment in a positive way, and that fulfills the child. It sends off the child to school or in a very safe and secure, peaceful, knowing that I'm attached to my parent and my parent has my back. We're both attached by the hip, and it builds a self-esteem in the child. What about attachments when it comes to friends? Is this also a healthy way of being attached, having like a squad? I have my people, or people who belong to a kahila. Is the belonging part of attachment, and is there a healthy attachment when it comes to community?
So absolutely, I think you're touching on to one of the pieces of attachment in a way to connect with a child is to fill their needs.
Right.
When we fill a child's needs, they're able to rest.
So a parent has to know what the child's needs are.
That's right. So you touched on one of them. One of the needs is a feeling of belonging. Mm-hmm. Very, very strong. The feeling of belonging really comes from this emotional connection. When a child feels emotionally connected to someone, they feel like they belong. They feel like they belong to their father, their mother. They feel like they belong to their family. their nuclear family. That feeling of belonging, what I'm going to say is, I want to go the other way. I want to say if a child was really given that, and that was actually, I don't want to say like stamped, but maybe like vaccinated in, like it was in. What occurs is that it's easier for them to attach and belong to the right groups, to the right communities, to the right friends, because they know what healthy feels like.
Correct.
They don't need, see, everyone says, oh, they're in pain and they need to go run, and they need to go run to something else. That's so true. Now let's go back. How do we not create that? When you give your child that sense of belonging through emotional connection, which is very hard to do.
Right.
And we can go through how and what to do. But if you give that, what you've done is you've sort of wired in their system that this feels super good, because everyone's wired for connection. Everyone needs that healthy emotional connection. So they're not going to really, it's going to be a lure, but it's not going to be that like push that they have to get rid of something that they're missing and fill it with that, because they've actually had that.
Wow, you're saying something very profound. And I'll tell you what I heard from you and tell me if I am correct. What you're saying is that if a parent is providing a healthy connection, a healthy emotional connection, and a healthy attachment, secure attachment with the child, what is going to happen is that that child is going to look for healthy relationships outside as well. What you're saying is, in other words, that you're preventing a ton of problems of bad friends, bad environments, because first of all, the child doesn't need to go and fill this void from someplace else. And on the other hand, this was modeled to them. They know what respect is. They know what empathy is. And that child is giving over the same empathy. The child is looking and searching and magnetically pulling the same type of relationships.
That's right.
It's just crazy important to know for a parent.
It is super important. I want to add something, take it a step further. Trauma is an event that's happened to somebody or hasn't, a sort of a neglect or whatever. And there's different types of trauma. There's the complex trauma, which is the emotional pieces. There's incidents of trauma, one-time traumas, constant traumas, all different types of traumas. The ability, like I was saying, to go back to someone and to connect with somebody that you know is there, I don't want to say takes it away, but it takes a huge ingredient out of what the trauma is. Trauma is an event, but it's also a wound inside. And if somebody has that template and the ability to go to somebody and say, this happened to me, this is happening to me.
Right.
I want to just take a simple example, bullying.
Right.
Why should a child have to hold that in their little undeveloped brain and sit with that? That's traumatizing to a child. What I'm saying is that that's wounding. There's a wound inside, and that wound needs to be healed. They'll heal it in 100 different ways with bad medicine, like we were saying. Go to try to ease that pain, ease that. But if they can go back to the core because they know they can, and they have a pathway to go there, that takes away so much of it.
Wow, that will help minimize the trauma. Yeah. It's amazing stuff what you're saying. It's fascinating. But what you're saying, tell me if this is correct, if I understand it correctly. What you're saying is, if a child is not comfortable enough to go to the parents and share, let's say the child was sexually molested, or the child was bullied, or any other trauma was going on, and the child doesn't feel it. You have to feel this. This is not about the parents telling you, you can come and talk to me.
That's right.
The child has to feel,
experience it,
that they can come and share this with the parents and be validated and be believed and feel the empathy. You blame the parents for that, because a little child would say he's embarrassed to go say it. I mean, how can you make the child become more, but it's really not the child. What you're saying is that the parents should step up to the plate, because if you don't build an environment in the house that you can come to me, and you're comfortable enough to come to me, and also know that if you will be validated, then it's the parent's responsibility.
I think it's very important. I always try and keep things as positive as possible, because I truly believe, and this is really, really important, I truly believe that every parent does whatever he or she can do at the moment. Everyone wants to do everything to the best of their ability.
Correct.
They just don't necessarily have that ability at that given moment.
Right.
Things change. I'm going to say a parent that parented their first child is very different than one that they parented their third or fourth child.
Right.
Because we've grown, there's so much differences in the temperament of the child, I'm going to say, in what's going on at home, in financial situations, everything's so different. But I think every parent does the best of their ability. And this is just to give a parent the knowledge and just like how powerful they really are.
Correct.
In a good way.
Right.
Not in a way of trying to say, oh, that you're to blame. Chas v'shalom, there's no one to blame. It's much more of understanding parents that have young children to be able to cultivate this environment in their home can really, really help them. Not only help a child feel like they can come over, but it builds resilience in the child. The ability, like I said, if something goes wrong, it's not like the world's over.
Right.
You're able to come back to something.
Wow, that is amazing stuff. How would you describe unhealthy attachment?
So I think that unhealthy, we can go all the way to the other spectrum. Unhealthy attachments, there's a couple types of quote unquote unhealthy, but like the one that really stands out and what a lot of people will be in therapy for, let's say, is something called disorganized attachment. Disorganized attachment is something where it's very confusing to a child. Sometimes the caregiver is available and sometimes they're totally not. But like in very extreme ways. We're all human. Anyone with secure attachment, meaning in that relationship, a secure, call it a relationship or connection, there's going to be times where the other person checks out or screams or gets upset. That's for sure. But the constant pattern of sometimes totally there and sometimes scary.
Yeah.
Meaning the parent's scary to the child. The child starts, there's so much stuff that's happening, but on a very surface level, they start learning that relationships aren't safe.
Right. Like Monday is one way and Tuesday is another way.
Yes. And relationships aren't safe. And even if I'm in a relationship, it might just change. So let's take a marriage or a friendship.
Right.
Where they can't hold it, not because they don't want it, but because they don't know how to navigate it. So if one day the friend decides to walk with another friend, they see that as that Tuesday,
right,
every Tuesday or whatever, that
right,
the parent just got upset or angry or whatever. And that triggers that piece in them. And then they can't keep that relationship.
Yeah, that messes with people's minds tremendously. And this is between adults, adults.
Yes.
If you blow this hot and cold all the time,
yes,
it's messing with people, because this is probably one of the worst out there, because the messages are coming in not clear.
Yes. And it's so confusing. Like a child that's developing. So like if you want to think of a child's brain as a ton of wires.
Yeah.
And those wires are not really solidified into any circuit or into anything when they're born. And when I say development, I mean these wires are literally being stretched, moved, put.
Right.
Pathways are being created. So when you start creating you literally are developing these pathways to be like, no, we got a short circuit here, or we got to do this, this is the way the brain is formed. Yeah, it can be extremely challenging to undo.
Do you find in your practice, when you talk to people, that children feel sometimes that the parents are threatened by them or jealous? As soon as the child becomes a little bit older, and they look at the child and they feel a certain distance. Where does that come from?
So I think it's interesting that you're asking that. I think that really goes into not a parenting style, but there's sort of like it's sort of like a state of being in something called a child state. A child state is a place where like sometimes we get a little silly, we have fun, we like sort of let the child inside of us like jump out
Right.
and have a ton of fun. But like it's not really a great place to hang out as an adult all the time.
Right.
Like I always think of it, we always had someone in our class. I don't know if everyone can think of it this way. Like we always had someone in our class that had like always had the best nosh, but
Right.
like odd ain't cheer, and they always had pizza for supper, and they always like it was like a party in their house, and we're always like jealous, like we wanted to go there, and then we would go there maybe for a sleepover, and it would be like geschmack and really nice, but then like I don't know, by the time you're done, you're ready to leave.
Yeah.
Those parents are in their child state. That means that they're really friends with the child.
Right.
They want to be friends with them. So, but the minute the friend surpasses them or starts being more successful than them,
Right.
then in the friend relationship, there's that jealousy in a weird way.
Mhm. That's fascinating.
But it's the emotional immaturity or the need for more emotional maturity on the parents' end. But it's not just in parenting usually that these parents are this way. It's really across the board.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, where is the balance of a person who wants a healthy, secure attachment, wants that friendship, wants that closeness, but on the other hand, a balance of respect also?
Absolutely. And I think that's very confusing to people.
Right.
And I think people say it's either or. Like just love them, just give them whatever they want, just love them. And then there's like, but we need respect. I would never say that to my father. There was a certain respect for that. So there's many different levels to that. I'm going to say the strictest parent can have the healthiest attachment. It's not a stira b'chlal.
Right.
It's all in the way that you do it. And I think it's a lot in the focus of what's my goal. But absolutely, it's not a stira at all. I do want to touch upon what you just said. It's very interesting, where there is the need for respect. And I'm going to say 50, 60 years ago, that was demanded.
Yeah.
And we gave it. And it was almost like part of the culture that it needed to happen that way. For some reason, now it's not there. And if I can explain it a little bit, I think it's not fixing it, but I think it's helpful for parents to understand, even grandparents, to understand what's going on with their grandchildren. I think 50, 60 years ago, there was the dynamic really in all relationships, if you would take relationships on a whole, so like take principal to teacher, teacher to child, business boss to employee, husband to wife, father to child. There was a certain, I'm going to say like role that everyone had. Like the father went out to work, the mother stayed home or did something, and each one had their role. Like it was like the father would come home from work, he did this. And from a child's perspective, looking at those relationships, it wasn't equal. It was like what Tati says or what your father says. He said, that there was no equal democracy or dynamic that was happening that way. Principal to a Rebbe also. There was something very like, I don't want to say removed, but there was a clear hierarchy of like what's going on. And then let's take a Rebbe to a child. Same type of thing. What started shifting is that all relationships really around started becoming more 50-50 or democratic.
Right.
Both parents worked. You asked Tati, okay, maybe Tati will say, what does mommy say? What does Abba say? There's this back and forth. It wasn't like one had to say in this and this one had to say in this. It's really everyone working in tandem. Same thing in schools. Really, it's shifted. Like the assistant is really like the Rebbe in a child's eyes. There's no clear power dynamic. So if a child is seeing that now, why in heaven's name, like, want to lean into a relationship where it's all like pushing you down? All they see is equal. So that's where I think the shift happened. And that's where I think we have to lean into that, fill that a little bit, but obviously keep our respect. Obviously, kids can't rule. That's anarchy. That's not something that's healthy for a home, and it's actually scary for a child.
Right. Even the child doesn't expect it.
No.
Child doesn't want to run the house. The child wants authority. It wants to see that the parents, the father's a giver.
Absolutely.
He can protect me if I need to.
Okay.
If he has an opinion.
Someone that can protect me, but also understands me.
Correct. Now, you mentioned the word grandparents, and I'm going to throw it in there.
Okay.
Is grandparents also in this dynamic? There is healthy attachment,
Absolutely.
and can they also help abusing a child with control, or because it's sometimes in these families, this is going back, they're very enmeshed, and if the grandparent says something, it affects the child because the father is going to do what the mother is going to do, what the parents want, what their grandparents want, and how does that affect the child, the grandparent?
Yeah, so I'm going to say really directly, if there's a lot of exposure, I'm going to say exposure without a aware parent around, because like even like little comments, well, they'll right away tight you up as, you're the troublemaker, or, oh, here comes the whatever,
Yeah.
It plants something in a child. It's so powerful.
Right.
That's
and they're
part
like
of this
sponges. These childs are like sponges, and they look up at the grandparent. And I've heard that a lot of times that the grandparents would kill a child with their words. And you think, what is a grandparent's job? Just have to give wafers, no?
Hugs and wafers and tons of gifts, that yeah,
but it's very important that the grandparents should know what their job is, because your word can kill somebody.
Absolutely. I'll take it even a step further. Grandparents, again, you could talk to parents or grandparents, but when a grandparent, even after a child is married and has a family, there's a reason why they're calling their parent to talk to speak to them,
right,
to have a relationship. What happens in that relationship is going to affect the child the next afternoon, because the parent's feeling either really good about themselves or not so good about themselves, based on what's been going on.
Right.
So it's part of this whole nuclear family system.
Right. And that brings me to just, maybe this is the first step, but how important is Shalom Bayis? If you're in the middle of forming a healthy attachment with a child, and the two don't get along, they don't see eye to eye, this attachment flies out of the window right there and then. So the first thing is, you have to first have your ducks in line, and then we can talk about attachment. Is that true?
In a way, for sure. For sure. It's a huge, Shalom Bayis is huge. I mean, think about, we're talking about children and parenting, but think about the safety in the home.
Right.
What it feels like.
Yeah.
There's arguing and bickering and stress and all that real
Tension.
heavy stuff. Children absorb that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I think when you're able, so for sure, in terms of the marriage piece, there's a ton to work on. You have to work on that relationship, and the attachment of your own attachment style and your own stuff is gonna be in that relationship. But you should also know that whatever you're able to give to your child in this healthy way is setting his marriage up for success. Mirza Hashem, there's someone else involved also, but you're giving him the best chance, and his children's, and then his children's marriages, and then their children. So
it's huge. It's huge. It's tremendous.
It's huge. So it really starts way before, like you're saying, like really it starts before the parent, as they were a child, what went on for them, and it's going to affect their marriage, their relationship at work, their relationship with their children, parenting. It's, it's every relationship, and
It's a
we're all about
combination.
relationships.
It's a combination from
Absolutely.
all levels.
And that's
This is not an easy task we're discussing over here.
definitely not easy. And I think it's to bring out the implications of it.
Right.
Can hopefully have people think about it. Shift just a little bit.
A little
That's
bit, just
like,
a little point of view.
Yeah.
Now, how early is attachment formed for little children? Which means, from what age do they start to recognize that this is my parent and this is what I need? I need love. I need validation. I need understanding. The back and forth of a relationship. Adults, we know.
Yeah. Yeah.
How young is a child educated in this subject?
So I'm going to split it into two, but I'm going to go back to utero. A lot of what we're talking about here is not a child knowing. It's a child feeling.
Mm.
It's a felt sense that the child has, that they're okay, they're safe, they're good enough, they're wanted. That goes back to utero. You're with the mother, and the child senses, just like they're developing in a physical way. They're sensing, their brain's forming, and this is a felt sense. It's implicit, something they can't remember. It's subconscious. It's within their system.
Right.
The child's born. I'm gonna say 0 to 2 years old is actually the most fundamental part of what we're talking about.
Wow.
As crazy as that
Yeah,
sounds.
because a parent would think at that point the child doesn't have any feelings yet.
Right.
Because we connect feelings with brain,
With words.
with words, or developed brain.
Yes.
And you feel like it's from 0 to 2. I mean,
Yes.
now we're just feeding the child and changing diapers.
That's right.
You're saying that from 0 to 2, the child is developing feelings of being needed and wanted.
Connected. In a implicit way. In almost like a blueprint way. Not in a way that he'll be able to say.
Right.
But absolutely. I'm going to say it's a huge ingredient in the attachment. It gets tricky after the age of 2 when they develop language. And, But if a parent is in tune with their child for those first 2 years of life, it's absolutely it's a game changer. I'm going to say in terms of responsiveness, I call it mirroring. That's something that I think is a huge skill, which we actually do very naturally with our children when they're 0 to 2. So what happens when the baby's born, or what happens when the baby's brought home from the hospital? Baby cries, we rock them. We're literally following their cue. The baby's sense is that this is allowed to be happening and someone's there for me.
Wow.
That's actually what they feel.
Wow.
But if a baby's left crying, used to be, the thought was just let the
Let
baby
it-
cry.
yeah.
Don't hold the baby. Don't hold the baby, because they're
Right.
going to get used to, But if you're looking at it from this point of view, it's actually, you're doing the best. You're helping the child develop in the most safe, secure way.
You're introducing the child to healthy living.
Yeah. Yeah. And the child knows in its bones that it's okay to have needs. His needs will be responded to. So let's go back to something happening by bullying in school, or
Right.
some sort of event of abuse or something. In their bones, they know they can go to their mother or father.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
How should a child that feels neglected by limited parent, child, wants to be needed, wants to be, heard and understood, and there's nobody home, what should a child do at a time like that? They already have a mind, they know already, teenagers or whatever.
Teenagers.
Yeah.
So if a teenager is willing to listen to this, it's finding someone to attach to.
So what you're saying is that they can find a teacher, a Rosh
Yeah,
Yeshiva, or
absolutely.
anybody else to replace, to substitute a parent for attachment?
If that's that's it, meaning it's obviously not the natural or the best, I'm going to say like the most natural or the way things are supposed to happen, but you can definitely fill it in that way if you have someone, an in tune Mora or teacher, and someone that really holds on to you, but and does it in a real way.
Wow.
You can fill a lot.
Wow. So this is a message for teachers. If they can spot a child who has unhealthy attachment, a child who is not secure, they may step into the game.
Absolutely.
Wow.
I'm going to say these children are spotted by abusers with
Correct.
a laser-like focus.
Correct.
They know them.
Yeah.
It's clear to them. They're like, they know. And so, yeah, if a Rebbe can spot them and be that kind, nurturing figure,
Wow.
it can change a child's trajectory for sure.
That is something. And what if a child is living in a house and they cannot make the parent proud? Whatever they do is just not working.
So I think there's a couple, asking a question that way, I think there's a couple things. It sounds like from like assumptions.
Right.
So I don't think a child's job is to make a parent proud. I think a parent's job is to see the child for who they are and try to cultivate anything and all their koiches and all their abilities to bring it out.
Right.
The way you do that is by seeing the actual child and not what the child's doing, how they're doing, or what they're doing.
Right.
It's not about a behavior or an action or an accomplishment that they're doing.
Right.
Because then it becomes about the accomplishment. It's to be about the child. This is a very important piece. It's interesting you asked it that way.
Right.
And I think it's important to speak out. The idea of praising our child or complimenting our child, it's a good thing and it could and should happen. But it needs more than that. Because the message, and I think the message that we give our children when we compliment or praise something that they've done is in a way, it's a positive type of judgment, but in a way we're judging them and we're saying you passed the test.
Correct.
And deep down the child feels this. They might, it's like almost like candy. Like it tastes so good when you hear it from a parent, but it doesn't last well. The more nurturing attachment, connection piece is when you see the child. Not about what they did, but you just saw the effort the child put in, or what they've tried to do, or how much they must have thought about it before they did A, B, and C, where you're seeing the actual child's effort as opposed to their accomplishments. You're acknowledging the child. You're looking at the child, and this gets very mixed up. And then I believe that this message is a very powerful message to children. And what happens is that let's fast forward 5th, 6th grade. Let's fast forward again to high school. Let's fast forward and things aren't going away. And we're not accomplishing exactly what we're supposed to do. Those children are much more, and I'm going to say in the society, it's much easier to just give up on it. Forget it, disposable. What we call it like a disposable society. But I think, if you get down to the root of it, is because everything was about accomplishment, being amazing, always being able to do, and only focused on that. Not focused on any effort. So why should I put in the effort?
Right.
You know, we say, Anu amelim, hema amelim. Anu amelim mekablan schar. I really think that should be the focus of of a child's childhood in what they put into it, because they know they accomplished. It's almost like, what do we say the first thing your child comes home with, a 95 or 100? You got a 95. Oh my gosh, you got everything right. What's that message? It's so subtle.
Yeah.
What's that message? You got 100 and I'm proud of your 100. How about if a child would hear something a bit different? Wow, I remember how hard you studied on that. You went out to your friend's house late at night and you studied, and remember we reviewed that one, and it was on the test, right? You don't even have to mention the 100. They know they got 100. They know you're proud just from the way you are, just from the way you're everything about you're giving over proudness.
Right.
It's much more about looking at their effort and how much they tried, and that makes a child feel seen. We're talking about seen. So I think the premise to that question, the whole dynamic is a little off, but he should seek out someone that does see him for who he is.
Right, because if a child is going through what you're describing, it feels like that he has to feed the image of the parents.
That's right.
In toxic relationships, this is between a spouse and a husband and wife, or between children. The golden child is, people are jealous of the golden child because the golden child has it. But in reality, the golden child works twice as hard as the regular children, because they know the punishment and they know the reward that is going to come. So they're always on their toes. Mm-hmm. So it's not so easy to be the golden child.
Absolutely. And they're not able to be genuine with who they are.
Correct.
Because they have an image they have to keep up. And the way that sort of formulates later is that it can be hard to think that you're genuinely skilled at something, or you're genuinely good at something, because you've never, that's not part of your blueprint.
And that's very destructive. Now let's talk about, you mentioned trauma before, illness in the family, or even sometimes a child is ill, or the parents are ill, or children from divorced homes, which is a huge topic. Happens a lot lately. There's so many houses who are going through this. Now, you're talking about children who are coming from divorced homes. What is healthy attachment over there? Because here they have their own issues to deal with, that sometimes for some reason these children blame themselves when the parents divorce, which I will never understand, but this is part of the game. And who even talks about healthy attachment when it comes attachment to who? One parent. If it's great if both parents understand each other, and there's no negativity spewed at each other. But if there is, where's attachment there?
So you touch upon a couple things. I think it's important to understand, in a child's world, children are very self-centered. They don't like sharing. They don't really get another person's perspective so easily. Like, it's hard for them. That develops a little later. But in children, it doesn't necessarily come naturally, especially in a home that didn't have that. And that probably was in the home they grew up in, that they didn't really see that in the parents' marriage, assumably, because of the divorce. So, being that they're so self-centered, they make it all about themselves, even if it doesn't make any sense. Everything's about them. So it must be something I did. It must be something that has to do with me, that this is happening. That's the first way of explaining it. There's another way to explain it. And this is the attachment piece. There's nothing more scary to a child than losing their attachment, having it and losing it.
Wow.
It's safer to say it's my fault than to say there's something wrong with my attachment figures.
Wow. That is crazy stuff. Now, not only that, they carry in this it's all about me, into relationships later in life as well.
Absolutely. This is all part of the attachment. This is all part of their developing what relationships are about.
So that is profound, because what you're describing is a child when they're young, it's going to become about them, self-centered, and for the reason of losing the attachment, for losing that security, they're petrified from that fact. And then they take the self-centeredness when they become teenagers, and then they take the self-centeredness into their new relationships, adult relationships, and it's a downward spiral from there.
Yeah. It's almost like it was implanted, like it's wired. There's rewiring that can happen, but it's wired. But I think in terms of a parent being able to what they could do is that obviously there's no point in blaming another spouse in front of the child. That doesn't do any good. But it's showing up for the child however they need to be showed up for. So we might not think that their experience is what should be happening. Like, let's say they're just terribly upset about something and like, oh, it's not such a big deal. Like, I don't know, like you have a safe home and well, every other Shabbos you'll go. Like, not such a big deal, right? That's validating. But it's not about so much doing a validation move. It's much more of the ability to see the experience of the child in the way that they see it and lean into that. Super difficult to do. That's the epitome of, I'm going to say empathy. Okay, that's what empathy is. Empathy is the ability to believe the other person's experience without painting it the way that you think it should be.
Right.
Which is taking away so much of yourself in the picture, which is super hard. But I believe that's the core of what attachment is. The ability to look at your child who you don't even relate to, like you're up here, they're there, and they're on the floor tantruming about their doll. Their world, their doll is major. Your ability to lean into that and really empathize, and it might feel a little fake for you in the beginning, but the more you do it, the more natural it becomes. That's what gives the child the ability to feel safe, seen, heard, soothed, attached, connected. Everyone talks about loving your child.
Yeah.
But that's such a hard, that's so unattainable. Like, what does that mean?
Yeah.
What does it mean?
Like almost superficial.
Exactly. It's a word. So I want to, I'll say a word just for like very quickly. V'ahavta l'reacha kamecha. You learn. You should love your friend like you love yourself. If you look in Targum Onkelos, he doesn't translate it in the typical way you would translate ahava. He translates it usarachim. And every time he translates ahava, he changes to rachamim. Rachamim can be translated as mercy, but I want loosely translated, I think it's empathy.
Empathy, like feeling, putting yourself in someone else's shoes.
And showing them that you're in their shoes.
Right.
Think about going to be Menachem Avel somebody.
Right.
What do? Are our phones on? No. Are we sitting like this? No. We're sitting slouched. In a way, the less we talk, the better.
You just look at this person like, I feel you.
Yeah. And that person feels that you feel them.
Correct. You don't have to say anything.
That is empathy.
Right.
And I feel like that if that goes on in a child's life,
it's heaven.
Not always. It's heaven on earth. Is that what you just said?
Yeah.
It's heaven on earth. And it's a basic tenet and if, again, I want to say this again, if that goes on in a child's life, that child will be able to do it to his spouse, to his friends.
Correct.
Because he knows what it feels like and he has a lingo and he knows it's in his bones.
Right.
So when we rock our little 0 to 2-year-old, we're giving over empathy without words. We're giving over empathy like viscerally, like we're giving it over. When a child's, let's say from a divorced home that's really sad, if we're able to be in his experience for just a minute, that's very healing because he doesn't feel alone in it. Someone's experiencing it with him. And that's profoundly impactful, like healing, helpful, and it's super hard. This is like the hardest thing to do.
So what you're saying is that even if one parent
Yeah.
from the divorced home has empathy
Yes.
and is possible to have healthy attachment with your children, the children will be fine.
Listen, this you never like saying things definitively.
Right.
So what I like to say is that you have a cake and you have ingredients in the cake. There are main ingredients. Attachment, nurture, huge ingredient.
Right.
Nature, also big ingredient. So there's temperament of a child. There's going to be, but part of the attachment is tuning into that temperament, right? No child is the same. No child's kaiches are the same. And we're not trying to make them the same.
Right.
So, but yeah, it absolutely, the ability for a child to feel that way comes from when a parent is able to feel what's going on for them. It takes a lot of work, and the word is not skill, because if it feels like a technique, it is.
Right.
And it's not supposed to be that way.
No.
No, it has to be that you genuinely are feeling what's going on for them and taking out what you want out of the situation for a minute. You might want to push them in a certain direction eventually.
Right.
But first, you have to hit their system, their limbic system, what's going on for them, and calm them down. It's like I sometimes think of it, you think of it developmentally, so like on levels. You have a 3-year-old that's terribly distraught that their doll broke. What do we say? Our first reaction, we'll get you another one. You have so many other ones. Okay, so this one's broke. We'll try to fix it. Blah, blah, blah. All trying to fix the problem, and it's nothing wrong with that. But developmentally, it's like a 25-year-old or a 30-year-old losing their diamond ring.
Yeah.
What would they want to hear first? We'll get you another one. What's the big deal? You have other ones. You have fake. Like what? Like developmentally, they're on the same level. First, we can go there eventually. First, they have to feel like, whoa, there's someone else in my loss. I lost something so... Now, for an adult, it might take much longer.
Right.
For a child, it happens within a minute. It's not like I'm saying it, it's like, life-changing, but developmentally, it's very, very similar. It's interesting.
Right. So what I'm hearing from you is that if parents have no empathy for their children, the children are doomed.
Or, worse, sometimes empathy and sometimes bashing, like this disorganized that we're talking about.
Wow. Let me ask you a question. Why are parents struggling to be vulnerable and open and have open conversations with the children? Why is there a certain distance that they feel that they can't share certain, there's certain conversations that parents would not have with the children?
I think the question starts way earlier. Where was the connection before you had to have this difficult conversation?
Mm-hmm. They never built on it, is what you're saying.
It's not there. They're not able to say, I know this is an uncomfortable conversation, but I have to have it with you. That seems so scary because you're not in a connection or in a relationship with them. And they don't trust you. And in a way, you don't trust their reaction. So it really starts way before. And I think a lot of issues that are real issues. Really, the question is, what was in place beforehand to help our children weather the world?
Right.
The world's not an easy place to be in.
No.
It's a lot of ups and downs, and we can't control that as parents, as much as we want to like helicopter and help and save and push and work and, machal Sachen.
Yeah.
Ultimately, your child has to weather the world, and they need this to be able to do it. So it's not so much about what's happening now. It's really about what happened before.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's why this is important. So the awareness, the earlier you can start, the better, there's always hope Can someone fix a broken relationship later in teens?
1,000%. Teens, grown adults. It's called repair.
Yeah.
Repair is sometimes more powerful than if it didn't happen.
It's like when two people are making up and the
Bond grows
way stronger and way deeper.
Yes.
That could happen between a parent and a teen as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think there's a way to do it, but it takes this piece. That means it takes the parent's ability to say, I'm going to listen to what you have to say. And it can be so hurtful. And I could have every excuse in the book, every cognitive excuse. Ultimately, I believe that this is what my child's experiencing. And I'm going to at least be there with them in that. Doesn't mean that you have to agree with them, but you're together with them. They're not alone in what they were experiencing.
It takes a lot of courage from a parent to admit that, I did what I could at that point in time. Like you said before, every parent tries their best.
Every parent, and I'm going to say it takes a lot. I don't want to say admit. I think it takes a lot for a parent to believe the child's experience as they're saying it without coming in with ways to paint it.
Right.
That's empathy.
Right.
Every time we say, I understand how you're feeling, that's already not empathy because it's I understand how you're feeling. Right. Or I get you. Right. So it feels right. But real empathy is completely aligning yourself for the moment with the person. So they feel like imagine if you go to Shiva and you go, I understand you.
Right.
It's like, okay, you know? Right. But if you're showing them, and so much of empathy is actually facial expression, not so much words. It's more limbic system feelings that brings everything down and brings the temperature down.
Wow. Amazing stuff. How should a child deal with sibling rivalry? There are parents. I know. I talk to people, and talking about attachment, pinning one child against the other, one jealous on the other, choosing them like bad vegetables. They're choosing the children who feed their image, and they're throwing away the ones who are not. What kind of wreckage does that leave on a child's psyche?
Yeah, that's what it is. That this is the attachment is damaging. That means the most important relationship in my life is not showing up. In fact, it's damaging. So what does that say about other relationships? Can I trust anyone ever in the world? Can I ever trust anyone? These
children are set up for failure.
Yeah, children are resilient and they have ways to cope with it. So what I'm going to say is that sometimes you'll see someone that really is like amazing and they came from such an interesting background. And like, how's that add up?
Right.
That's great. Usually they're doing their own work, but a lot of times they're coping mechanisms. And it comes with a package. That means someone that, there can be a lot of pent up anger and frustration within them, and they're channeling it in the right way. That's great. Right. But then if it's not able to be channeled, like when you see a lot of adults with terrible anger.
Yeah.
Terrible anger, like really the driver of that is a frustrated feeling of not getting your needs met ever for the longest time.
Losing your trust in the parents and then losing the trust in the universe. Then losing the trust in
every relationship, any person. And it's very hard to live with someone like that.
Yeah.
It's very hard to do business with someone like that. It has its perks. That means they probably won't fall into something bad or a bad deal because they're so cautious.
Everybody is guilty.
Yeah, it's really hard to trust people. Yeah.
They lose their trust, and to build back trust, welcome to the,
therapy world.
Yeah. Now, what if parents, and you know, parents are parents, and we're human beings, and sometimes we lose it. Sometimes we feel that we need to yell. The parents who are not physical, you know,
Yeah.
are yelling,
Yeah.
and all these other things. This is when something is going wrong, and for the right reasons. You know, we had a hard day, and everything is going south.
Right.
And is there a time that when a parent can yell, or is there a time for time to lose it, and it's okay?
I think there's a difference between losing it and yelling. That's first of all. Usually when someone's losing it, it's not because someone told them it's okay to lose it. They just lost it. There's no way to control it. But yelling, here's what I think. Think of it as like a 70-30 or like 65-35 type of balance. You scream, you get frustrated, you don't have space for your child, put it into the 30% basket, and that's totally fine. Consider that the golden standard.
Right.
We're human.
Right.
In no way should anyone come and say, you have to do this 100% of the time. That's not healthy for a child either, because he has to have some sort of up and down a little bit also within a safe relationship.
Right.
So I would say call it 70-30. And anytime something goes bad, or anytime something's, you're not proud about the way you made your child feel, or the way you acted, throw it into the 30 basket, and you're in the golden standard.
Right.
There's always a repair that can happen, which can take the whatever you put into the 30 and pump up your whole day into 150 when you come over to them. And some people aren't comfortable to apologize to your child. So what I've come up with is the idea that you apologize that this has happened. You don't have to personally apologize if you don't feel like. I think you can, but there are people that can't or don't feel comfortable. So this is like a step under that. You apologize that this happened, and you're really sorry that this happened.
You know, like it had to happen because I lost it, but you know what?
I'm really sad that it happened.
Right.
And that shows so much to a child, because it's not saying I'm sorry, you know, like it has to come with the meaning and the
How about ignoring it and thinking that it's going to go away?
Yeah, the child holds on to it. But again, throw it into the 30 and you're in the golden standard.
You're okay.
Yeah.
Because what you just did is you showed your child that you're a human being. You're not Superman.
Absolutely.
And the child is also going to experience.
Yeah.
You know, he also has tantrums, and there's also, you know, so
okay.
You're human.
Yeah.
You're actually communicating with your child, human behavior. But you know what? It's not abuse, and you grab yourself and just teaches your child that your child will actually look up to it rather than.
Yeah, and I think there's a place in every I'm going to say day situation where you could let your children know about your thought process and that you're not Superman.
Right.
Like you're stuck in traffic and you're upset and you feel like it's just worth it to just turn around because we're not going to get to the chasna anyways. Right. And that's how you're feeling, because that's probably how that feeling.
Right.
And then you say, but you know what? Let's go. Let them know the process. And that actually is so impactful, because you're not telling them how to think. You're saying it about yourself, and they by osmosis take it in.
Right. Let's move over to schools. We're talking about parenting, and part of a child's life is the school. A huge part of a child's life is the school. Now, is it healthy to have an attachment to a teacher? You know, sometimes you have these children who have a crush on their teacher. Mm-hmm. Is it healthy to have an attachment to friends? Is it healthy to have an attachment in the school environment?
Absolutely, for sure. I think the unhealthy attachment patterns that you find in the school is because of the attachment pattern that is not going on at home. Or the opposite of it, where they're so seeking to be validated, so seeking to be seen. So they'll do crazy things, they'll do stuff. And like when you jump to school and you think about behaviors. So, you know, they came out with a diagnosis, it's ODD, opposition defiant
disorder.
And if you look at the description, it's a child, the way I like what I'm hearing is a child who's so discouraged.
Yeah, like
Having
it's
so there's nothing.
opposing authority.
All his needs are so unmet that the only way he can do it is by
Right.
pushing back at authority, and then he
Right.
gets some sort of adrenaline, some sort of rush that he'll feel better. It's like his drug. So of course it's doing that for him. But like if you're going to start looking at that and not really what the motor and the vehicle for why it's happening, you know, you might get a child who's going to be a little bit better on medication in school.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say this type of thing. But are you hitting the core issue?
Right. You're saying they're misdiagnosed with all these names sometimes, but really what's missing is something from the house.
Yeah.
Now, I had a mechanech over here who, a big mechanech for a lot of years, was telling me that, you know, how do schools handle bullying?
Mm-hmm.
And he says, bullying has to do with the child's home,
Mm-hmm.
where the child comes from. It was, someone is bullying in that house, and that's why he comes to school and he bullies. I mean, it's not a school issue.
So I think it happens in the school.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I think that if you want to get down to the Makar,
Right.
to the bottom line, two things. It's how children respond to the bully, because I think parents can help children respond to bullies in a certain way and help them understand exactly like you're saying, this bully's in so much pain that the only way to get rid of it is by that adrenaline rush and that dopamine rush of making you get angry or making you feel down. And so explaining this to our children, and when we hear of a bully, we can punish the bully and try to control him. But I think there's a lot of that has to happen. But there's also a lot of understanding of like, what's going on for this child? What's going on for him? Why is he doing this? It's not a natural thing to do. There's something, when a child misbehaves, I'm saying this in home, I'm saying this in school, I'm saying this in camp, when there's misbehavior from the child, that's not the problem.
Right.
The problem is that the child's is feeling discouraged and feeling like something's off and their needs are not being met. Call it the battery's not being full, whatever, and they need to fill it with something else, and that's why they're doing it. So whose issue is that? You're right. Getting down to the Yesod Hadavar,
Right.
it's going to be the home.
Yeah. What's your feeling about schools, their emotional support that they're giving the children versus academics? Is there a bigger percent? Would you like to see more emphasis put on emotional connection and feelings than curriculum?
So I don't think it's a stira. I think it's both. And each one on the higher standard, and one doesn't take away from the other.
Right.
There's little we can do to teach our children how to emotionally regulate and how to be better. You know, they could like fill out a worksheet of how you're supposed to behave. Push comes to shove, they're in the yard. That worksheet is in one ear, out the other. It's really about, I think, the ability to be makdim with what's going on, to have the child system calm down, look at a system, see what's going on, calm a system through the empathy piece, and then put down the rules, like for sure. There's rules. You're in school. Of course, that's what happens. And of course, teaching has to happen and chinuch has to happen. And that's where we send our children for chinuch. That's so much of it. But I think it's like that thing before, or that there's so much on a Rebbe's plate nowadays that I feel so uncomfortable even saying maybe something else, like add another thing. There's so much that they have.
Yeah.
But it's like taking that child that they saw got hurt by another child, or maybe by the Rebbe's own words, and going over to them at the schoolyard and repairing it in the way that we talked about. That that's what they're going to remember from 5th grade. They don't remember anything else.
Right.
Do you remember 5th grade? Do you remember exactly what you learned? We need to learn. We need to develop our brains and all that stuff, but that will be something that I know myself. I remember there was one specific Like, you remember that Rebbe,
Right.
and that gives you that feeling.
What message do you have for a teacher, a Rebbe, or a Rosh Hashiva of how to be sensitive and use empathy in the classroom so they can spot a child who really needs it, that they can change that kid's life forever?
Yeah. So just one way is to, you see a child that something's going on, and taking them over maybe privately and just saying like, "Hi, is everything okay?" Now, when we say that I see that there's something wrong or something must be bothering you, that's not empathy. You're already projecting what you're thinking. That's already in the next step. Let's back up for a second. We have to sort of take a deep breath and like back up. Let's lean in to what's happening to that child. What's going on in his world? So like, is everything okay? And if a child is shut down and sad, in a way, he needs someone that can feel that sadness. So you're not going to be like, "Hey, Yankee, what's going on?" It's going to be a little bit sad, like when you go into a shiva.
Right.
It's good, not to that extent, but the energy you're going to give over is, "I get you. I get you.
I feel you.
I feel you."
Yeah.
Here's the thing. When a child felt, funny way of saying it, that's what takes him out of whatever, at least brings him out of the shutdown or the fight mode and puts them into their higher brain, prefrontal cortex, and they can talk about it and they can process it. And so I think it's empathy, and it's very tricky, but I've actually come up with a way to do it, and like just like little pointers so as to help the person feel like you get them.
Wow. And this is saving a person's life.
It could, because if something more, use the word sinister, is going on or something else, they'll be faster to come over to you as a Rebbe, because they felt so safe in that moment when you just gave them even just a little bit of space, and they might on the surface look like they're pushing you away, but that could also be a test. Is he going to respect me?
Yeah.
Because I've never been respected my whole life. Every time I say go away, they push back at me and they make me whatever. Here it's like, okay, so I want you to come over to me. I'm here, and you give them that. There's a lot of ways to play it and read into what's going on. They might like shrug their shoulders, whatever. That's, if no one was safe until now, you're not just from one conversation it's a process.
Yeah. What about, since we're on this subject, sharing with the child, let's say, about the Rabboni Shalom, about the Minim B'tuchen. When you talk to a child this language, the surrender language, and you look at the world, trying to control everything, but we can't. There is a Rabboni Shalom. It actually shows the child a different side of you. It also models to the child when they'll go out in the world that it's not the end of the world and everything doesn't have to be the way you want. How important is to add this into parenting?
Wow. I can't believe you just asked me that question, because I've been working on this thought. I think absolutely it should be talked about, but here's the thing. We all talk about it.
Yeah.
We have to feel it. It's really interesting. The way I think you can actually give over to your child the sense of Hashem, the sense of Amunah and B'tachin, is through this empathy.
Wow.
Because with the child, as a 0 to 2-year-old, as a 3 or 4-year-old, when they get hit by that empathy and they get hit by that mirroring, or however you're making them feel felt, you're not touching them, but they're feeling felt.
Correct.
And what that's doing is it's programming their ability to feel like they could feel felt by something or someone or something that they don't see or they can't touch or grasp.
Wow. It's powerful.
Extremely. And I think these are the tenets. This is the base. We all want our children to be connected to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Doing this actually, I think, is the blueprint and the inoculation for anything that might come against it, because their system's wired. We all sing Hashem is here, Hashem is there, Hashem
Yeah.
is truly every.
Yeah.
But the ability to feel that
Right.
is when they know my father's here all the time, my mother's here all the time.
And
Not sitting and hovering over, but when I need them,
They're here.
I calm down with their presence.
What
Their
you're saying
presence.
is that you're emulating Hashem
Yes.
physically,
Yes.
and you're teaching this child, when this child is newborn, that there is a higher power. There is somebody to rely on when you'll need. And you share, then later, you share this with the child, and you tell, I'm relying on this too.
Connects.
And this is it's a huge foundation for from 0 to 2. You start then. This
0
is
to
called
2 and-
preventive parenting.
Yeah, this is huge. You know, it's very interesting. The Meshech Chachma in Parshas Ekev speaks about Amunah and B'tachon, and he said something that had a profound impact on me. And he says it's a long thing, but he basically touches up what B'tachon is, and he says what it is Dveikus.
Yeah.
The ability to be davak to Hashem.
Yeah, but the Dveikus in English is what? Is it yearning, clinging? What's the word of Dveikus?
Attachment.
Attachment. You call Dveikus attachment.
Absolutely.
The Ledovka boy is the goal.
Yeah.
That's why we are here.
Uboy Sidbak. And when a child can see all the mitzvahs as a way to continue on with whatever connection he's yearning for, and that Ta Kadosh Baruch Hu makes the mitzvah so much different.
Right.
But how can you put someone that's a disconnected human being to every human being and say, now connect to something else?
Right.
How do you do that? But if you can put it inborn in them from the beginning.
You're acting like an agent of emulation from Hashem to us.
Experientially.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's very powerful stuff. Very powerful stuff. And I think that you put the child on a foundation of such security, to know that there is Hashem, and your father is also relying on Hashem. So your Superman in your eyes is also relying on Hashem.
I guess I would ask you the question, what do we all want from our kids? Like, you know, as a goal, long term. We have like short-term goals, but like, what's our long-term goal for our children? And I think it's two things. I think it's to be connected. Right. So that means to us and to the Rebbeinu Shalom and to Yiddishkeit. It's also to be resilient.
In this world we live in.
To be resilient. We get knocked down. We get pushed back. And all that comes from this piece of empathy and connection.
Wow.
Yeah.
So the Taj of the Dveikus is attachment. It makes sense. Unbelievable stuff.
Yeah.
All I can say is thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, not just for the tools that you gave. Thank you for sharing a lens that we need to look at as parents, and the way we look at ourselves and the way we look at our children. And that is a beautiful awareness and a beautiful lesson. And my bracha to you is, you should have tzlucha in everything you do.
Amen.
Especially on the holy mission that you're doing, that you're helping families heal.
Amen.
And I want to thank you for coming. Thank
you.
Thank you.